What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of the Oscars, the podcast that takes a look at the 2023 Oscars 24 minutes at a time. I am Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are heading back through the multiverse to fight Jobu Tupaki and potentially win an Oscar as we talk about the very first Best Picture nominee of the 2023 Oscar season, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Now, this is a brand new layout, a brand new season to the podcast, to the show. Very exciting things. We're going to be talking all things Oscars for the next 10 weeks. But before I start diving into the pod, before we start talking about anything award seasons or Oscars or anything like that, I want to introduce our very special guest for today. Every single episode for the next 10 weeks, we're going to have special guests on the pod. A lot of them have never been on the pod, including the two today. This is really exciting. All of this leading up to the biggest night in Hollywood on March 12th, which is the Academy Awards. First, I want to introduce Matt Roembke of thedirect.com. Matt, you've been a guest on my now laid to rest podcast, 15 Minutes of Marvel. We go back, but you're here on this pod for the very first time. How you doing, Matt? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing fantastic, Ethan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to sit down and chat about this movie and all movies and everything Oscars with you fine gentlemen. So thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. And then joining Matt, a reunion of sorts, the former co-host of the Direct podcast with Matt is Liam Crowley, now over at comicbook.com doing amazing things, awesome interviews all the time. Liam Crowley, welcome to the pod, Liam. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Ethan. I'm doing fantastic. I'm fresh off this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And yeah, we've spoken many a times on 15 Minutes of Marvel, the Direct podcast. Now talking about stuff not related to comic book movies, and I'm stoked because I'm excited to hear everyone's opinions on film.
Yes,
film. This is cinema.
This is cinema. So you make a good point. You guys do stem from a more comic book movie focused background, which is, kind of why we wanted you here on the pod. This is the movie of the season, I would say, that is the most genre bending in that aspect. And besides the fact that literally Black Panther: Wakanda Forever might be nominated for a Best Picture, we're not 100% sure at this point in time. This is probably kind of the closest in that realm. Now, this is a historic episode of the pod for many reasons. First, obviously, the fact that this is kind of the first official 24 minutes of the Oscars. This is the first of the kind of the brand change that we are doing. Last week, we had the senior awards editor at Variety, Clayton Davis, on to help us with a primer for the 2023 Oscar season. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go back, check that out. Incredible stuff. Clayton giving me a really hard time for being excited for Babylon, which I just want to say, I just want to take my 2 seconds. Clayton, at the time we recorded with Clayton, I had not seen Babylon, and he knew I was excited for it, and he mocked me for it. Clayton, if you're listening, I've seen Babylon, and it fucking rips, and I loved it. So we have to deal with that, and now our friendship is going to have a falling out. That's a great episode, but we find ourselves in a predicament here. I was kind of talking to you guys off mic a little bit before we started. The official Best Picture nomination list is not out yet. We are recording this on December 27th, 2022, getting prepared for January 24th, when the list will be officially announced via a live stream cast or a video cast of some sorts, which is very exciting. Ben, how do you feel about the risky nature, the risky endeavor that we are taking here in doing 3 Best Picture nomination episodes before we even have a list? Can we really even say 3 pictures are locked in?
I mean, I really hope this one is locked in. It seems from all the, film festival circuits going around that it's at least getting some recognition. So knowing that we are going to have we are going to have 10 nominees for Best Picture this year, I'd be just so confused if this doesn't make that into the top 10. Obviously, we kind of had to roll the dice on these next 2 weeks as well. So, as those come out, we'll see how we did with our guesses, I guess.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, this is kind of the lock. This is the one with a target on the back, I would say, of all the Best Picture nominees. Now, I do understand, before we go into general thoughts, we're going to be doing a kind of a broad review of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Once again, here on the show, it is by far and away our most popular episode of the pod. Back when we did it in April, when the hype train was just full speed ahead on the bullet train, Pew pew, another 2022, not Best Picture nominee, but it's a film.
Hey, we don't know. Maybe.
It's a movie.
You know? We'll see what that
Maybe.
Brad
I
Pitt
like Bullet
draws.
Train.
We'll see what happens. Back when the hype train was going, and we had a colleague of your guys' Klein Felt on the pod to talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once. That was a good time. We're going to be doing a short review, but before we do that, this may be your first encounter with the Oscars, with the Academy Awards. We are kind of straying from the A24 pocket of the cinematic universe, per se, and diving into, more film things in terms of the Oscars and the Academy Awards. So there's one thing that I just wanted to say briefly to clear the air. When we mention here over the next several weeks, the Oscars and the Academy Awards, those are the same things. I know when I was first getting into it, I was like, what are we doing? Like, what's the interchange here? How is one different than the other? The Oscars is like the short form for it. It was essentially back when the statue was first made, one of the executive producers of the show, or executive directors of the Academy was like, yo, that looks like my Uncle Oscar. And it stuck. And that's what happened. So when we say Oscars, when we say the Academy Awards, it's literally the same thing. Ben, do you have anything else to add as kind of a preface as we go into Oscar season here that you think might be important for guests to know?
Yeah, just that the Oscars mean everything in the film industry and they're absolutely pointless. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about all this. None of this matters, but it also means absolutely everything. So yeah.
Which my sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right, my sweet spot.
The most important yeah, it's great.
It's the perfect introduction to this movie because nothing means anything and everything means everything. Essentially, Liam and Matt both have seen this movie for the very first time within the last few days. Liam, right before we recorded, you got on here and you're like, listen, I just finished this movie. So you're coming in hot. You're coming in fresh. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to vamp, to collect yourself here. Matt, I want to go to you first. I am curious, before we talk Everything Everywhere, where do you fall in the Oscars? Do you care? Ben said it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter, but do you care? Is it outside your scope? How do you feel?
So I say the same thing that so many people everywhere on the internet and in real life say every year. I'm going to watch every Best Picture nominee. And I say that when the list comes out before the Oscars. And I say it every single year. Complete honesty, it just never happens. I just watched The Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Seinfeld again. That's usually what happens. Just over and over.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think so too. But I do love the Oscars. I really love any sort of entertainment tradition or award or ledger, I guess, just, bookkeeping of film. I've always loved that about the Oscars ever since I was a kid. I would say I more oftentimes go back and watch winners rather than watch nominees beforehand. So I use it almost as like a Comic-Con presentation of like, hey, here's some stuff you should check out from the previous year. So last year I watched the Oscars, not for any movie reason, but to watch one of the greatest celebrities of our generation just fall down a hill. But other than that, I am a fan of the idea of the Oscars, I guess. And I love the recognition it does bring to people in a lot of ceremonious kind of ways. You think Leo, you think Good Will Hunting, all those guys, like some of the moments of the Oscars, huge fan of. And I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys about this because this is a little out of my pocket. Like you mentioned, I'm definitely more IP franchise blockbuster facing when it comes to what I write about, talk about, and mostly what I like. But I do love when a less IP movie does blow me away. I'm excited to kind of sit back and like listen to you guys break this one down and hopefully help me realize some things maybe I didn't pick up on. I'm just kind of a little bit out of my atmosphere talking about this, I guess. And Ethan, this is only my third A24 movie I've ever seen. So it's gonna be a wild ride, but I'm excited to take it.
That's bold. That's big. I appreciate it. I like it. And I appreciate that you're here and you're willing to do that. I think that is part of the nature of the Oscars in its essence is, hey, watch some different movies, right? Watch something new, watch something different. Liam, you're a list man yourself. You like to rank things. So I'm curious, do the Oscars hold any weight in your world? Do you even care?
Yeah, I love the Oscars. I admittedly the past couple of years have failed to watch all the Best Picture nominees, but I successfully did it for the first time in 2020, and that was the most fun I've ever had watching an award show. because I felt like I had like a stake in every category because I wasn't going in completely blind. Like I remember accurately predicting the winner of sound editing and sound mixing, and it wasn't that hard just because I saw the nominees, you know, like it's little things like that. Just by watching the films, you get a greater appreciation for the industry as a whole. I'll push back a little bit. I'll say the Oscars do. I think the Golden Globes do not matter whatsoever. Those things are glorified paperweights, but the Oscars specifically, actors join a franchise and all of a sudden it's no longer Chloe Zhao, it's Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. Like those things elevate star power. So individual movies, like you mentioned, Babylon, that thing's going to lose a ton of money, yet it's still going to win awards. Those awards aren't going to make up for the box office losses that film experiences, but the talent involved in that film, their star power will rise. So the Oscars matter in that sense to me. And also it's just fun to see where actors end up before they get the big blockbuster role. Before Brie Larson was Captain Marvel, she was starring in Room and winning a Best Actress for that picture. Before Mahershala Ali was getting cast as Blade, he was winning Best Supporting Actor like 2 years in a row or something like that. It's cool to see where these actors start at superstardom before they launch into those blockbuster IPs that we all very much love. And as for this year's ceremony, I am making it my mission, since I don't have classes, since I don't have any other like miscellaneous thing, but to watch movies for a living. I will do my best to watch every nominee. Will I get there? Who knows? But so far,
yes, you will, Liam.
I think we've all collected a decent catalog just by nature of what we're invested in. Like you guys saw this movie back in April. There's one off your list already.
Yeah, that's fair. Ben, I got to ask you the same question. We run this pod. We talk Oscars all the time. We text on the daily. And I essentially what I do is I will just shout at you at night in all caps about like the Oscars matter and they are important and nobody cares. Where do you fall on the line? I know we talked to Clayton last week about how we can make things better. Do you have hope for this year? Especially with this movie being nominated. Do you have hope?
I mean, I always have hope, but I think I look at it more realistically. Like they're just going to have to change some stuff if they want to get those viewership numbers up. But speaking for myself, like make the Oscars 6 hours. I'll watch 6 hours of the Oscars.
Let's go.
I'm super interested in it. Obviously I was kind of joking, but like it doesn't matter. And I think obviously Liam's point is super accurate. I think I just always go back to like Al Pacino winning for Scent of a Woman over Denzel Washington as Malcolm X.
And it's like, the Academy and their makeup.
What the fuck you guys doing? What are we doing? Like, we don't need to give a Lifetime Achievement Award for hoo-wah, but at the same time, like that all plays into it, So I'm super excited. I'm curious to see where some of these. There's some potential, Oscar nominations that might come across as like Lifetime Achievement Awards. So I'm curious to see what happens there.
Liam, you had something you wanted to say?
I got animated for a second because I remember you said the 6 hour award ceremony, and I agree that's something that I would be inclined to tune in for. But like when they're making those cuts to get it under 3 hours, didn't they cut Composer of the Year or Score of the Year recently?
Yeah, they cut a few. Yeah.
Just like Jesus Christ, like
who cares about composers? We never talk about them.
It's like when you're making those cuts at a certain point, that's the nasty side of the business where like the viewership gets more prestige than the accolade, and it's like that stuff does bother me.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's my really quick take on that, Ben. I agree. I think let it rip, make it 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever the hell you want it to be, however long. Because as we kind of touched on with Clayton, there's a core audience that really cares about the Oscars. It's me and you, and Matt and Liam are kind of on the outside of that. And that's okay. But a 6 hour ceremony is not necessarily going to detract you guys. If anything, it'll pique your interest more because there's more things to watch and there's more chances to tune in. I think it needs to play to their base that really want just to watch movies, just to iconicize films. And I think that is something the Academy is missing out on. I fucking love the Oscars. Matt, what do you got?
They also need to appeal to Snyderverse fans. I think that's we've learned that over time.
They got their Flash moment last year, right? Was that the moment of the year?
Go back and listen to our episode about that, man. It's about 30 minutes of Anchor.
That's a tough beat. That's a tough beat. I love the Oscars, and I was actually the one. I tweeted out something, and I was like, listen, I wish there was a podcast that I was a part of where I could just talk about the Oscars for the next 12 weeks. And then, Ben, you texted me, you're like, what if we just change our pod to the Oscars until the Academy Awards? And I was like, yep, let's make it happen.
We have the
so
ability.
I'm excited. I'm here. And speaking of, let's talk about Everything Everywhere all at once, because I'm very excited. I watched this movie. I rewatched this movie for the third time the last night, and it's my first time watching it since the summer. So I caught a lot of new things. I am curious, Matt, when I reached out to you, you said you hadn't seen it. You didn't even know if this film was in English, which I thought was really, really interesting, because I thought everybody knows about this movie. Everybody has seen this movie. How does Matt not know? So what's your take? Now that you've seen the movie, how are you feeling? How do you feel about this film?
Yeah, so this was really just one that I missed. I work for a sports betting company. March Madness was rampant at the time, and I just, by the time it was, available for me to get around to it, I never did. I always said I did. I never did though. But you're right. I went into this movie knowing just three things. I knew that everybody loves it. I knew that has something to do with the multiverse, and that's it. So two things, I guess. And I actually watched this on Christmas Eve while my wife was working. And here are my three biggest takeaways just off the top is it's the most perfectly titled movie of all time. I want these Daniels guys to direct a Marvel movie just because I love, their directing, style. And we need more Jenny Slate. That's my third biggest takeaway. Not nearly enough of her. But no, in all seriousness, the overwhelming presence of creativity in this movie is so fun to watch. It's through the roof. It's something that I kept getting enamored with over and over and over again at different parts of the movie. Big swings are taken. A vision was, it was centered around a vision that was committed to, and everybody from the actors to the sound design crew to the janitors in the studio, everybody was 100% bought in on this vision. And it's really just a well put together product at the end of the day. I love when movies take risk. I love that there's a lot of heart and depth in this movie, but at the end of the day, it's relatively stupid, but like in the best way. You know what I mean? And that's that combination of absurdity and heart is something I really liked. And a lot of that comes through in the writing, the exploration, the plot. It's all given by very charismatic and charming characters. Something that I think Marvel Studios hangs their hat on a lot is being able to give plot in exciting, new, and interesting ways. I saw a lot of that here, which was really cool. And, I think that overall, as much as I enjoyed this movie, I think I appreciate it even more because of those risks, because of the commitment and, just the bold vision that they were able to, realize here. Some of the things that people love the most about this movie do not really hit for me. Some of the emotional bits just didn't connect with me a ton. The bagel metaphor was a miss for me personally. And, unfortunately, the hot dog fingers just isn't my kind of joke.
You don't like my hot dog fingers, Matt? Come on.
When you just put those gloves on, it made me so uncomfortable in such a real way. And there's a lot of that in this movie. But overall, the writing, the performances, the action in this movie, A+ stuff across the board. I'm a huge fan of Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
I can respect that. That's okay. Yeah. I like my hot dog fingers. My wife got them for me for Christmas, and I'm very grateful. And I love that they're great. Thank you.
Well, just on that really quick, this is, the bold swings. I talk about it all the time. The bigger the swing, the bigger the risk. If you don't find the hot dog fingers funny, that joke's just not for you. You know what I mean? Like that's a polarizing type of humor. What they present in this. So some people it's just gonna not be for them, but the people who it's for, man alive, is it for them? It's a Rick and Morty vibe in that kind of way.
Yeah, that's a great way to call it. Liam, last time I saw that you were considering watching this movie, you tweeted out a picture of the screen in front of you on a plane, and you were like, hey, do I fire this up? Twitter talked you down. Everybody came in your comments and was like, do not watch this film on a plane. You watched it last night in your home, which was the right thing to do. How are you feeling right now? What do you think of this movie?
Well, the reason why I was going to watch it on a plane is because everyone was like theatrical experience, right? And to me, the old Martin
Scorsese take right here. I love it.
Yeah, and it's like my home TV, I don't see as comparable to a theater. I see it more akin to an airplane, like if it's on a giant spectrum. So I didn't think anything of it. I was gonna press play. I was reading Avengers Forever graphic novel, and I was really into the chapter I was on. And then I went and checked my replies. There was like, "Don't do it." I was like, okay, fine, I'll pause. Yeah, I'm glad I waited. The visuals are something that are meant to be experienced on as large of a screen as possible. I'm bummed that I did not see this in theaters when it did have its release. Was it a wide release or a limited release? Because A24 kind of varies.
Yeah, so it was a tough release. We talked about it back on the podcast. It came to Portland before it went to Salt Lake, and it kind of spread across the U.S., started in New York, LA. They saw it did well, and then they slowly kind of cherry-picked big cities to kind of work their way towards week by week by week, eventually getting a wide release in like, June-ish, late May. So it was a big interesting release schedule that we really broke down. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. Maybe it just didn't like come to your city, in time for you to really catch that wave.
That genuinely could have been it. And it's really cool how it kind of had that surge of momentum, like wider release. You don't really see that. It's usually a giant wide release and it slowly gets whittled down over time. But my takeaways on this movie, I think it's a lock for best film editing. Jesus Christ. Yep. Like the commitment to the different multiverses in this is so absurd because it's the little things, right? Like that's what one of my favorite wrestlers, AJ Styles, to force in a wrestling comparison, as I always do on podcasts. He's like, moves are easy. The big flashy moves are easy. It's the little things that get the audience invested. And when you spend 0.01 milliseconds in this one universe where you probably spent thousands of dollars on the costume and the set design just for that one tiny frame of film, but you needed to do it to establish the commitment of this idea that is everything everywhere all at once. I love that. I recognize that. I don't know if every general audience comes away and appreciates that, but I think when people like us talk about those little things, that's what the filmmakers are doing them for. I echo a lot of Matt's points. I appreciate this movie way more than I enjoyed it. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it. I very much had a good time with this movie, but this was one of those films where I'm sitting down and I'm like, this is so well made. This is such a great story. I'm blown away by these visuals, but it's just not hitting as hard for me as it would for other people. So that's where film is subjective comes into play. Like I liked this movie. I didn't love this movie, but I'm never going to argue with someone who loves this movie or for whatever reason hates this movie because they can't wrap their head around it and stuff like that. And overall, yeah, I do think that this very much deserves to get in that Best Picture nomination slot. I know the Oscars vary. Sometimes they nominate 10, sometimes they nominate 6. I would confidently say if they do a full 10 this year, it deserves within that 10. Within a 5, for me personally, I don't know. But definitely if it does get nominated, no matter how many slots there are, I'm going to be for it.
That's a really interesting take. That's fascinating because I was genuinely curious going into this conversation if you guys would think of this movie maybe a bit differently than Ben and I, because we caught that wave. We caught that hype train when it was a phenomenon, when it was something. Yes. When I went to go see it, it was at a fan event. A24 reps were there handing out postcards saying, thank you for coming and seeing us on an IMAX screen. This is something to be experienced in community. So I think that goes into a lot of it for me personally as well. And I know Ben, like theatrical experience, that's the big deal. Liam, do you have something before Ben goes?
Yeah, and that's the danger of coming across a movie after it's been discovered, right? Because I hate being told what to like, what to dislike. Like I like going into movies as blind as possible. Like when there's a big release, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, or just any type of big blockbuster, I go and I mute those Twitter keywords because I don't want anyone to tell me you're not going to like this or you're going to like this. Like I like to go in as blind as possible. So the fact that I didn't catch it upon that initial wave, maybe that hurt my enjoyment because now everyone's telling me before I watch this movie, it's a lock for X, Y, and Z. And now I'm going in ready to nitpick why it isn't necessarily. Yeah. And that can affect enjoyment.
And you mentioned Community, Ethan, and I think that, I watched it, like I said, on New Year's Eve. My wife was at work, so I was alone. It was just me and my dog. Watching it with a theater of people, I think, would have been more fun. Watching it with one more person, I think, would have been more fun. You know what I mean? Just to have somebody to kind of express with and immediately after talk about it with, or because it's a home release, pause it and be like, what the hell is on their fingers, man? But did you see the monkey? And it's just, one more person I think could have really enhanced this viewing experience for me. But But you know, like Liam said, that doesn't take away from the movie at all. This is, I think, supposed to be a subjective movie. It's supposed to be polarizing because at times it is so niche. But that's what kind of makes the vision what it is.
Ben, you and Ashley rewatched it last week. Was this your third time visiting the movie, or second, third? Okay,
yeah. I mean, I'm curious, like, to your guys' point too, like when it comes to the voting body, how many of them are going to see it at home, and the impact that will have, you know, because I do think the theater was a huge influence, like in how much I loved it that first time. You know, I don't think the voting body is as white and as old, but I also think like there's probably still a lot of them. So I'm curious how that's going to come across. I mean, we talked to Clayton about this last week. We're just, I don't know what the voting body is going to feel about this. You know, those people that loved Green Book, I don't know if they're going to love Everything Everywhere, you know? So I'm curious to see how it happens, but, I don't know. I was super high on this movie. It was really fun to kind of rewatch it again. And relive some of those moments. So I appreciate what you guys are saying though. Like it's definitely a technical, almost a marvel. You know what I mean? Just like it's amazing what they were able to pull off. Also, like considering their budget and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see how this all plays out.
And when you say you're high on this movie, you mean figuratively or literally? Because if
probably
literally,
both, right?
You're alive. Right?
Little column A, little column B. You know, it's.
There's no way I could go through this movie under any.
Dude, me neither. Too excessive.
Well, let me tell you guys, it's a blast. It's a goddamn blast, and it was so just entertaining from that standpoint. You know what I mean? It's like turn your brain off movie. For it being as complex as it is, it's a great turn your brain off movie. It's a good time. I'm
amazed you did it for the first watch, but I respect it. That's fantastic.
I respect that. That's a big play. I'm going to juxtapose you and say that I went into this movie last night ready to not enjoy it as much. This was my third time watching it, and I remember the first time I saw it, and I was really moved, and I was kind of early on the movement of like, is this movie really as good as I think it is? Like, does it really have all the components? And then when I got to rewatch it a second time, I went to my local old school theater. I went with my wife, which was a big deal, another like kind of pivotal like thing to remember the movie by. And I watched it and I was like, yeah, this movie was really that good. It was really as good as I thought. And then I went in after all of this kind of Oscars conversation we've had the last couple of months. Oscar season is officially in full effect. The Gotham Awards were just a few weeks ago. We will talk about that. Ke-Huy Quan locking up supporting, this one Best Feature, Daniels won Best Director. Lots of big things that could mean big Oscars push. But now that I'm seeing movies like Tar and movies like Banshees of Inisherin and other films that are definitely going to be in the race, Tar being the big one. We will talk about that pretty continuously here on this pod in contention with this film specifically. I was like, okay, I just don't think it's as good. I just don't think it's as good as these movies. I started tearing up 13 minutes into this movie. I had to pause it last night because it's when we get that first big setup of the laundromat and everything that is continuously happening to Evelyn and understanding. Once you've seen it, you can really kind of take a lot back with you, and when you watch it again, in that very introductory scene, you can see Evelyn is really stuck in. She's really, really having a hard time wrapping her head around not having the life that she wanted. And that's personally, like, that's my sweet spot. That's why La La Land works so well for me. That final shot of like, God fucking damn it. They could have had it all, but they didn't. That's what works so well for me and why it's my favorite movie. And so like, I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing. And so this movie really, really hit me again last night. And as soon as it was over, I turned to Molly and I was like, that movie's it. That's a good movie. That's a really, really, really good movie. I love it. Ben and I have given our kind of big reviews here on the pod. We generally do something on this podcast called True Cinema. We talk about the movie through the major scenes and work our way through the film in that way. We're going to kind of refine it a little bit, renovate how we do this category here now that we're talking Oscars. We will do True Cinema, but we're not going to have a big list. Ben, I'm leaning into you a little bit. You always go off list. So I had to take some from you and not even give you a list to go off of.
Yeah.
We'll talk about our favorite scene. We're going to do a little Oscars power rankings here. Speaking of Would it make a 5? Would it make a 10? Things like that. And then we'll kind of talk about some other Oscars categories to wrap us up. So true cinema, I want to know, I do want to start with Ben. I'm curious because we've talked about this on the show before. I don't remember what our true cinema moment was 9 months ago. I don't know if you do. We don't write this stuff down. We just wing it every week. So
just off the top,
what do you have for your true cinema moment upon a rewatch, and now looking at it through maybe an Oscars lens, if that influences anything?
I mean, it's a scene that I can't stop thinking about. You showed these guys earlier your googly eyes rock tattoo.
Oh, I did, yeah.
And the thing I've been thinking about is how to get a tattoo implementing the laundry and taxes.
Yep.
Because that's just my favorite scene in this movie. I cried multiple times the first time I saw this, but this was definitely the one that like really fucked me up. And I was like mad at the Daniels, like, God damn it, you guys, like, fuck you.
Why would you do this to me?
Why are you making me do this? I love it all. Like, I love, what it's like set in. Wong Kar-wai is a wonderful director, and this like really takes after his film In the Mood for Love, which is like one of my favorite movies ever. So that was already hitting me when I was seeing this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing fucking Wong Kar-wai. They're awesome, doing it, you know? And then to get to that point later where he's like, we're successful as we are here, but maybe I would have been happy to trade it all in just to do laundry and taxes with you. And I was like, God damn it, dude. Like, it's so weird that like a line like that could hit me so hard, but that scene just fucked me up. Like, there's plenty of scenes here that I could talk about, like the visual aspect, like Jamie Lee Curtis when she's like jumping down the stairwell at them, and we get like the super slow-mo. Like, there's so many amazing visuals here, but if there's like a scene that I have to take out as my favorite, it is hands down laundry and taxes.
Yeah, I don't think you're in a small community on that. I don't think you're in a small group. I think that is like that is the screen cap that is constantly, probably like every other week, that is like, hey, just a reminder, this is pretty brilliant. This is really good stuff from this movie. Liam, what's your true cinema moment for the movie?
So I got two. My favorite scene, I don't even want to call this my favorite scene, but it's the one that just evoked the most emotion out of me, was when it's verse jumping, right? That's the term they use. When he's verse jumping and they say you have to give yourself paper cuts. I was wincing and screaming out loud.
Brutal.
And I was alone.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do it. I had to cover my ears because I didn't want to hear the little sound effect or anything. Because also, I haven't gotten a paper cut in months.
Yeah.
You just jinxed yourself, dude. Watch out.
I used to get so many paper cuts. What happened?
And now I'm just terrified. And this dude is doing it willingly. And that evoked the most emotion out of me. So I gotta give that a shout. But in terms of the scene that will probably stick with me in terms of the message of this movie, is Joy asking to be let go. Because that's something as someone who's fairly young and is just new to this game called adulthood. That's something that is still kind of fresh in my mind, of like dealing with that generational divide with parents. And when you pursue stuff that's unconventional or against societal standards at one point in time, sometimes people just don't see eye to eye. And rather than trying to convince them to see eye to eye, you just want to be allowed to do your own thing and then maybe come back and prove that it was all going to be okay. And so that scene definitely did tug at the heartstrings a little bit. And that's something that, you always look for in a movie. I always ask people when I'm stuck with a movie to watch, and I send out a Twitter prompt. I'm like, give me something that's going to tug at the heartstrings. Give me something that's going to make me think differently about life when I'm done watching this movie. And Everything Everywhere All at Once, I was not necessarily looking for that when watching this movie. I was wanted to watch it just because everyone's raving about it. But I'm glad I got some sort of message to take away with me, to make me look differently at life. And also, too, to make me look very critically at like every decision I make, because I really hope I'm not suffering too much in other universes.
That's how you watched About Time for the first time. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Twitter directed you in the right way.
I'm so glad you remember that.
Thank God.
That's like the exact emotions I was feeling towards the end of that movie, and also has to do with generational divide a little bit. I think that's a reoccurring theme when it comes to what I enjoy in my films in general.
Yeah, that movie bangs. If you haven't seen About Time, that's cinema. That's some good stuff.
So good.
Speaking of A24, Domhnall Gleeson, incredible in that movie. Matt, going with something similar? Do you have your own? I know you said a lot of the big hitting, hard swinging jokes maybe didn't connect for you. I'm curious to see how that maybe impacted some of your most pivotal scenes.
Absolutely. Liam, you want something tug at the heartstrings? WandaVision season finale. So let me throw that your way. Going along, I know he loves that one too. Going along with you know, where Liam had been when I kind of got like two like more light ones, and then one that, you know, for me hit me emotionally the most. First of all, the first fanny pack fight,
dude,
was awesome. It was such a great tone setter of a scene where it sets up the rules, it sets up the plot, and it sets the bar for just how stupid this movie is going to get. I don't remember what he puts in the fanny pack, but when he makes it heavier and then goes back,
he grabs some rocks from a fishbowl, right? He reaches over and fills
now
it
they're
with little
knocked
pebbles.
back 20 feet, and I love that. That was awesome. Story of a Girl by 9 Days. What a moment in this movie when he's just going on this multiversal monologue. He's very serious. He's very calm. Your clothes never fit as well the next day. Your hair never falls in quite the same way. I sat up and I was so excited. And the fact that they keep playing that song over and over and over, what an incredible reference point to how Evelyn is supposed to be feeling in that moment. Like, why doesn't this shirt fit as well the next day? And all like that's the feeling they want us to feel. Such good writing there. And I read an article about it. Apparently it was just a filler that they never took out. So funny.
Nice.
Sick.
But it was sick. But the one that got me the most, it was in the same scene as Ben's, but it wasn't Laundry and Taxes for me. It was This Is How I Fight.
Yeah.
It was what was his name? The husband, I'm sorry.
Waymond.
Waymond. I said Wandle. That's stupid.
I love it.
It's good. It's a filler.
I knew it was a name that started with an R, but it was actually W. Whatever. He's being painted as this naive sitcom dad. The entire movie, where Evelyn's this serious, goal-oriented person, and Waymond's just kind of hanging out and having fun, and she resents him for that so much. Turning that around into optimism, positivity, and kindness being his tools to survive this harsh reality of the universe, where Evelyn and everybody else is trying to figure out how to solve it so nobody ever has to be upset ever again. And Waymond's just hanging out, doing him. And I love that so much. And it's the presence of Ken Hee Huan. And I hope I'm saying that right. Did you guys watch The Goonies as a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, bet. I live in Oregon, bro. It was filmed in Oregon. You bet I watched it.
Well, there you go. Liam, you seen Goonies?
Of course, Sloth, yeah.
You guys. I grew up on that movie. I grew up on the Indiana Jones. You know, this actor has been a part of my life in very formative years. The presence he has then is completely present now. Like there's a charm to him back in the day, slick shoes, booby traps, all those different things. For whatever reason, his charm has not gone away with age, and he just owns every single line of dialogue in the most unique way. When he revealed that his superpower is being naive, is being optimistic, it just hit so hard for me. That was my favorite moment of the movie. It was awesome. So that's it's the same scene as Ben's, but This Is How We Fight. The editing, as Liam said earlier, that's an all-time scene. Just the way it's shot, what's going on, all of it. Very, very cool.
I love that one scene can split. We can have two different single sections of that one scene, which I think is really important. Obviously the Laundry and Taxes, that's kind of like the iconic one. That one hit for me as well. Shout out to the introduction of the Everything Bagel. I think that entire kind of scene leading up to it, and not necessarily like kind of the third act big, you know, we're always in that world, but the very first in the hallway scene, it's absolutely unreal that this did not get shortlisted for VFX based on that scene alone. When somebody's head bursts into confetti, is pretty phenomenal. And that whole scene with Stephanie Hugh as Joy is really incredible. And having the kind of the time in that scene for her character to introduce the Everything Bagel to Evelyn and say, look, this is what I did. And I think it's really smart to intertwine literally an Everything Bagel of like salt, garlic, things like that, disappointments, failures, all the report cards, all the times that you didn't say I love you, all of these actually real life moments. and that really hit for me. That really worked for me. But I think this time around, my ultimate favorite is when Evelyn first verse jumps, when she goes to kind of her singing world where she is famous, where she is at a red carpet premiere. She comes back. She says she wants to stay there, which like the first time I watched this, I was like, that's okay. Whatever. Throwaway line, doesn't really matter. Like we're going and we're verse jumping, and of course you want to stay there. It's a different universe. I get it. Like that's really exciting and enticing. She literally wanted to stay there. She did not want to come back to her life. She knew that's what it could have been. And again, I mentioned like the could have beens. That's what gets me all the time. And like for Evelyn to say that so well and to kind of space out when she says it, she's not even interacting with Waymond. She is literally saying like, I want to go back. I want to be there. That's what it could have been, I think is really powerful and really hits. I love that we all chose pretty different things. I think that's a force of the script, a force of the film for sure. Let's do some Oscar power ranking. This is the first time we're going to do this on the show, so we're going to see how this goes. As of now, so Clayton Davis is kind of our guiding star moving into Oscar season here. He has a power rankings list on Variety. If you Google Variety Oscars Hub, it'll be the first thing that pops up on Google. You can see it. Every single Thursday, he updates his list to include what he thinks is the most realistic kind of potential and possibility of the Best Picture winners. I want to say what they are right now, and then we'll go through and do however many power rankings you feel comfortable with, whatever you want to do. I know Matt and Liam, you guys are not as attached to the Oscars as Ben and I are. So if you don't go 10 deep, that's totally cool. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you to nominate Morbius or anything for Best Picture slot 10. But as of December 27th, as of today, here are the 10 predicted Best Picture nominees from Clayton Davis. We've got Top Gun Maverick, The Fabelmans, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Tar, Elvis, Avatar: The Way of Water, Women Talking, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and All Quiet on the Western Front, which just popped into that list this week when he put it out. Matt, I want to start with you. We have Everything Everywhere All at Once currently ranked at number 4 from Clayton. Have you seen any of the other movies? Where does Everything Everywhere fall in your power rankings? What are you feeling like here? I kind of like Liam's question. If we had 5 slots, is this making it? We're going to have 10. They're going to go with the 10. We know this. But if you had 5, is it going to fit in the 5?
I've only seen 5, so that's a tough one for me. But I am seeing the Fabelmans this weekend. I had tickets for that. And I'm going to watch Banshees this week as well. Nice. I'm very excited to check those out. And I got to see Tar. Apparently, it's pretty fantastic. Haven't seen
Tar, so, Matt? God fucking damn it, dude.
God fucking damn it. Yeah,
you got to watch Tar.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
Tar Nation, right?
Yeah. Tar Nation means something very different. Let me tell you what
in Tar Nation.
I'm just trying to appeal to, I'm trying to meet grounds
West
here. I'm
Coast
appealing
Tar
to
Nation doesn't hit the year right. So of the 5 I've seen, here are my rankings. It's Top Gun Maverick at number 1. That's a perfect movie. Wakanda Forever at number 2, going back to overcoming risk and things like that. I got Avatar: Way of the Water at 3 and Everything Everywhere at 4. Those are very, very close to me. Mm-hmm. I had the same kind of feeling coming out of both of those movies, and then Elvis down at number 5. So 3 or 4-ish right now, but I do plan on watching a few more of these movies. I really enjoyed this movie overall. Hand up, I was kind of hit by the like, this is going to change your life, and then it didn't kind of thing. And that's the downside of not catching a movie during the wave, and it's something I hope to learn from moving forward. When Tar 2 comes out, Ethan, you best believe I'll be front row.
Bro, don't even mess with me, because a short about Lydia Tar is coming out in February to expand the Tar universe. So Matt, we're gonna have a live watch along when that comes available online. Bet. We're in it.
Nice.
Hell yeah. I'm there, man. I really enjoyed this movie. I have it on the same kind of level as Avatar for unbelievably different reasons. But it does fall behind kind of the 2 blockbusters of the year for me. Wakanda Forever, just because I respect that franchise and Ryan Coogler so much. Top Gun Maverick, I will fight. Anybody who says that movie has any flaws, because I can't find one. Yeah. I've looked, I can't find a flaw in Top Gun Maverick. That's where it lands for me.
I set up my 4K player that I got for Christmas the other day, and I set it up, and one of the 4K discs that I have is Maverick, and so we threw it in just to do a little test run. Ended up watching Maverick for 30 minutes as a family with my 2 small daughters on the couch, just chilling, watching Maverick, everybody having a good time. It was an unbelievable experience. It was fantastic.
He's the fastest man alive.
He is. It's unbelievable.
It really likes to tell the story.
Liam, give me your power rankings here. Give me your 5. Where do you sit on the Everything Everywhere All at Once being in this power rankings Oscars list?
So the reason why I said I don't know if it would make my personal 5 nominees is because I just haven't seen all 10 possible nominees. But within the ones I've seen, I do think it has a solid shot of coming out on top. I would probably, personally, I'd put it at like number 3 behind Avatar and Top Gun Maverick. Those are both incredible theatrical experiences. And that's, again, why I really wish I saw this in theaters, because I think if I watch Avatar, Top Gun, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Wakanda Forever, all at the same venue, whether that be at home in a theater or, God forbid, on a plane, I think the rankings would change very differently. So, yeah, I think it has a solid shot, and it's going to definitely have like the popular vote in terms of just like the crowd hype behind it. But I personally would vote for either Top Gun or Avatar before it. I wouldn't vote for Wakanda Forever before it, though. I think I'd put it at a solid number 3.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I can respect that. I can respect that a lot. I think it's interesting that Way of Water is so high up there for you guys. I like that. You're a big Avatar guy, huh, Liam?
Love 5 out of 5 stars.
Wow.
Liam's been an Avatar guy for years, since 09.
For a whole 3 weeks.
An OG Avatar stan.
That was one of those theatrical experiences that I'm just like, I'm going to see that as many times in theaters as I can, because even though they're going to re-release it every year for the next 100 years, I'm going to tell myself that, I have a limited time to experience Pandora as James Cameron intended.
That's fair. Ben,
did you see they're putting Titanic out next year?
Bet.
No, they're not.
25th anniversary,
25th
baby.
Anniversary.
Let's go. James Cameron, ruler of the box office, the king himself.
He's him.
He's him. Just wait for that in-game re-release.
Oh man, Ben, have you seen Avatar: The Way of Water yet? Last time we talked, you had not seen it, and I was trying to convince you. You were like, "Listen, it's long," and I was like, "Ben, it's worth it." Because I saw an IMAX 3D. It fucking rips, dude. It's a good time.
I mean, I saw the first Avatar in IMAX 3D, and I was like, "All right, that's a movie." That's how I feel about going into the second one. I was like, I don't know. The last one, I was like, maybe I feel like you guys do with this movie, where it's like, wow, technically that was awesome, but I've seen Fern Gully, I've seen Dances with Wolves. Like, this movie didn't do anything for me emotionally, but like, it looked cool. And that's, I guess, what I'm going into Avatar 2 with. I was like, why? I don't know why I want to continue with like a story I didn't care about the first time, but I would love to hear Matt's pitch on this.
I had the exact same feelings going in, and I had a good time.
All right. Fair enough.
If that doesn't.
I was just going to say, when you said it's 3 hours long, I remember looking at this list initially, and I'm like, if there's a comic book movie that should be on the short list, it should be the freaking Batman. I'm so angry that film is flying under the radar, and everyone wants to say like, oh, well, it came out in March, and all the Oscar bait movies come out in the fall. To that, I raise Everything Everywhere all at once.
Yeah, facts.
Back to the March
2 weeks earlier.
That's facts. I will say the one big snub on the Batman, it did not make the Oscar shortlist for Best Score, which is a travesty. An absolute criminal. I do think it's the best score of the year.
California, that breaks the law.
Who did the score of the Batman? Oh, we don't care about composers. Doesn't matter.
Right, we don't
Doesn't matter. Who cares? The music just shows up.
But listen, it matters this year because the Oscars are televising every single category, as they should. They got pushed back, and we won. We did it. We're getting every single category televised this year, which is exciting.
All at once.
All at once. Give
there
us
it is. Ben, power rankings for the Oscars. This is pivotal for you and I. We're gonna have fluctuating guests from week to week.
Yeah.
But our power rankings will be the constant on this show week after week. Give me as deep as you want to go. I'm going 10. But as much as you want to go, Ben, give me your power rankings.
Well, I've only seen 6, so I only feel comfortable commenting on the 6 I've seen.
6 is fine.
Are we doing like what we want? Like, I want Everything Everywhere to win.
Okay.
But I understand that there's a Steven Spielberg like autobiographical movie on here, and those guys love giving Steven Spielberg Oscars. You know what I mean? Like,
You know,
So,
follow your heart, Ben. Whatever
all
you
right.
want to do.
Okay, well, I'm gonna do what I want here. I would like Everything Everywhere All at Once at number 1. The second most fun I had this year in the theater was Top Gun Maverick. That movie fucking rips.
Yes. It does.
Just to stir things up, the least amount of fun I had was the Batman. Number 3, I would go with the Fableman. No, Elvis. Elvis, I fucking loved Elvis. That was great.
Yeah.
Number 4, Fablemans. Number 5, where are we at? Tar, and 6, Wakanda Forever.
Travesty for Tar.
I still really liked Wakanda Forever. I don't want that to come across as like a 1-star review. I still really liked it, but I feel like it would probably stick here with these other 4 that are coming in, except maybe Banshees. But yeah, so that's where I'm at.
Okay, that's fair. Can we take a quick digression? I noticed Liam and Matt, their souls left their body when they heard that you didn't like the Batman because they haven't heard this. This is a pretty ongoing shtick on this show. I love the Batman. I think it rips. Ben, I guess Liam and Matt, you have anything that like, hey, Ben, give it a shot? Because he's already tried to watch it twice and it just doesn't hit.
I've seen this movie like 5 times. Like, I love this movie, and it's 3 hours long. Like, I put it on in the background. Sometimes I just need to hear Robert Pattinson say Thursday, October 31st. It gets the juices flowing.
I love it. I'm very happy.
Second, the city's underwater.
I'm super happy for everybody. I was super amped for this movie. I even bought, I think Super Yaki made like a Robert Pattinson shirt with like the My Chemical Romance font. I fucking bought that shirt because I'm like, fuck yeah, this movie's gonna be awesome. I'm so stoked. And then I just left and I was like, okay, all right. I don't know. Like, I was just like, whatever. So I don't know. I tried to give it more. I think what I've realized, I'll keep it short because Ethan's heard me talk about this a lot. I love Bruce Wayne, and we didn't get any Bruce Wayne. I love seeing that side of Batman in these movies. And so to get one without that really at all was just like, okay. So that, I think that's the core of what it comes down to is I miss not having a Bruce Wayne in there. So we'll see. Maybe the next one will have it.
Ethan, if I may, I have some brushes here. I would like to paint a word picture.
You may go right ahead.
Why it's a good thing Bruce Wayne wasn't in this movie, because he wasn't. Think about the Batman 2. And Bella Real is on to Bruce Wayne a little bit, always trying to talk to him, always trying to get his business, always trying to get his support. And Bob Pattinson just wants to be Batman, just wants to be Batman, just wants to be Batman. That's his whole movie. He realizes in the second act of the Batman 2, I can't just, pass by this Bruce Wayne thing. This is my biggest cover. People are getting close to me. And then the camera zooms in and he smiles for the first time in his Batman career. And now Bruce Wayne is here. I mean, look, that's my dream for that movie.
Dude, I'll be honest, like, I'm hopeful that we get some Bruce in too. Like I want to love this movie. Like it looks great. I love Turturro. I could have done without Jeffrey Wright, but Colin Farrell and Turturro were fantastic. But dude, I don't know, man. I need some Bruce, I guess.
Ben, it's all part of the bit. It's all part of the bigger picture, Ben. You just gotta go along for the ride. It's a universe now, so you got to get ready. Okay, my power rankings. I'm gonna be a little bit of a hater here, and I'm gonna go with, because the Academy, even though it is more diverse, even though it is less white, it is still predominantly old white guys. That is how it is. The Academy is now expanded, I believe, to 9,000 or 16,000. I could be getting that confused with the Sight and Sound polling of the year. It's got a pretty broad voting base now. There's a lot of people that have power to vote for the Academy. This movie, we talked about in the very beginning of the pod, has people falling on butt plugs, and it has a hallway scene in which they're slapping each other with dildos. It has a very, very subtle jokes to lesbianism and that generational divide and that new age of being different and being unique and being your true self. I don't think that's going to hit with the Academy. I just don't think that people are going to like that, especially, and I noticed on my watch last night, especially when all of that is so pivotal when you get down to that end of the third act, when it actually, for me, starts to drag slightly, when we really focus on that bagel and that kind of stairway scene. We're really hearkening back. I mean, you get Daniel Scheinert dressed up in sex paraphernalia, being spanked. Like that, it's just not going to fly with the Academy, in my opinion. I really hope that I'm proven wrong, because if this movie wins, like you want it to, Ben, it would signify a massive shift and a massive change in the Academy voting structure and their ideas of what a Best Picture truly is. I think it could be historical in a win if that does tend to happen. I am going to go with my power rankings here. I'm going to go with Top Gun Maverick. I think everybody's seen it. Everybody loves it. It can do no wrong. Can it campaign? Can Tom Cruise campaign? Can Joe Kosinski campaign? We will see. That will be the big question mark for Maverick. Will it get a re-release in theaters? Will it get a premium format re-release? All of these questions I ask myself that keep myself up at night. Now I can speak into a microphone. Number 2, I think Elvis. Number 3, The Fabelmans. Number 4, The Banshees of Inisherin. Number 5, Tar. Number 6, Everything Everywhere All at Once. 7, Avatar: The Way of Water. And 8, Wakanda Forever. I have not seen Women Talking, and I have not seen All Quiet on the Western Front quite yet. Women Talking does hit nationwide theaters in early January, so be on the lookout if it hasn't come to your city. Be on the lookout for that. I just don't think it's going to connect quite like all of those other ones do, especially when it comes to preferential balloting. We'll kind of dive into that on a future episode of this pod and talk about how the Academy works when it comes to that. But I don't think it's in its favor. And you're right. We have a Steven Spielberg semi-autobiographical film with Michelle Williams gunning for an Oscar finally and things like that. So I think there's a lot at stake here. Obviously, there's a lot to play. Other categories, other nominations. We don't have the official nomination list yet. There's still predictions, but we can guess pretty accurately. We got the Gotham Awards that did happen, and the Oscar shortlists have come out. This movie got 14 nods at the Critics' Choice Awards, 6 nominations at the Golden Globes, with a Best Feature and a Best Supporting Actor win at the Gotham Awards. That's big. That's generally a very, very good sign for a film like this. It could play, and I have a list of the categories here, it could play in a historic 15 category nomination slate here. The 14 nod trifecta that currently holds the record is All About Eve in 1950, Titanic, speaking of Titanic, in 1997, and La La Land in 2016. All of those got 14 nominations. If the cards fall correctly, this could see 15. Will it see 15? I don't think so, but things could go right. We will see. We've got the Daniels for Best Director, Michelle Yeoh for Best Actress in a Leading Role, Ke-Huy Quan, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Jamie Lee Curtis or Stephanie Hsu in Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Production Design, Costume Design, Film Editing, Sound, Makeup and Hairstyling, Original Score, Original Song, which is This Is a Life, that made the Oscar shortlist, and Best Visual Effects, which it is not on the Oscars shortlist for. Liam, I'll start with you. You mentioned a couple of the other categories. Are we seeing 15 wins here? What are we thinking that are surefire locks, nominations? What do we think is going to happen? Because this movie it's up to lose everything, is what I would say.
Well, 15 wins is not happening. 15 nominations, I also think, is highly unlikely. The only 2, or I'll give 5 locks for nomination. I think Best Director, Best Actress, Best Picture, Best Costume Design, and my lock to absolutely win is Best Film Editing. I cannot see any other movie beating this for film editing. Like I haven't felt this strongly since sound mixing for Ford v Ferrari, and that took home that Oscar. So who knows?
So we got the Liam Crowley stamp of approval. You're 1 for 1. You're hoping to go for 2 for 2.
1 for 1. Way back in 2020. Yep.
Matt, what do you think in terms of other nominations, other wins that this could secure here?
Best Supporting Actor, Ke-Huy Quan was magnetic in this movie, I thought. Yeah. And I thought he was just such an amazing vehicle for this wacky story. And there is something nostalgic about that man's face, that man's voice. He is a part of some of the biggest, nostalgia movies of all time. And, so I fully support him winning that award. Best director, I think is a lock for nomination at least. But if any merit of the Best Director award is just realizing a vision, it's hard not to pick this one. It has a Shakespearean vibe to it, where it builds such a unique world, I guess, in such a simple way, but it works. It's got a Jurassic Park vibe to that. Best screenplay, I think, is a lock in film editing as well. And as far as best actress, I got to see these other movies. I don't think I'm as high on Michelle Yeoh as everybody else in the world. She was great in this movie. Don't get me wrong. She's great in a lot of stuff, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because she seems to be the face of the Oscars this year in a lot of ways. You know, her and Kate Blanchett did that thing about a week ago. It's all anybody could talk about, and so it'll be very interesting to see how that one plays out.
I think that'll be the race that Ben and I are continuously talking about here. Kate Blanchett versus Michelle Yeoh. Who is going to campaign the most? Who is going to want it the most? And who is the Academy going to attach to the most to kind of represent that? Ben, Matt, you got something else?
How many dildos does Kate Blanchett wield in her movie?
That's a great question. Fair point.
This is the science I need to know. You know
I mean, anything's a dildo if you're brave enough, Matt, you know? So who knows?
If that ain't the truth, brother, darnation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like for these, like I wouldn't be upset if any of these nominations happen. Like I think I could understand it all. Yeah, but definitely the Daniels, like you said, it's down to Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett. I'm kind of curious how people respond. I asked Clayton about that last week, where I was just like, is Kate Blanchett's like really focused tunnel vision performance more powerful than Michelle Yeoh, who's like going all these different places? Like, I don't know. We'll see. Ki Kwan, that's a lock. For a supporting actress, I hope it's Stephanie Sue. I think everyone's like really pushing Jamie Lee Curtis, and she did a great job. But Stephanie Sue was just like amazing, especially for like a first feature film performance. Like she was fucking great. So, and then I'm with Liam, like this, as someone who does editing for a living, like if this doesn't win film editing, I'll be furious. Cause like that was one thing I took away after I wiped away my tears the first time. I was like, holy fuck, that would have been a nightmare to edit that movie. And to know that they did it with like a team of 7, you know, it's like, holy shit, that is crazy. So, yeah, but costume design, production, all that stuff's valid for sure. But, yeah, the one I want to see most, I think, is film editing.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I would really like it to get nominated at least for VFX. I think it's definitely a worthy nomination there. I could see nominations for director. I can see a nomination for original screenplay. I'm going to say it doesn't win. I'm going to say Tar definitely takes that. I think it is a much more nuanced screenplay that allows for a lot more depth to be held, even though this is a very, very good movie. And, you know, that's the nature of the Oscars, right? What's the best of the best at the end of the year, even though they're all so superior. Costume design, I think sound, it could have a good shout. I think Babylon, honestly, is gonna really put up a contest in sound. They're already running for your consideration ads the week after the movie has come out, saying the sound on this film is everything. So we will see. Makeup and hairstyling, I think song has a pretty good shot at as well. And I said VFX. We'll see. Top Gun Maverick. I don't think Lady Gaga got nommed for song. Did she?
She did not.
That's man. The Academy hates Lady Gaga.
I don't think she did, which was odd because that crushed. I thought.
I watched the music video to that yesterday. It was on my 4K disc, and it is awesome. It's really cool.
Nice.
Did Rihanna get nominated?
I don't believe so either. I think that was
that was also amazing.
I think those were the two big snubs.
Did The Weeknd get nominated?
Ooh, see, now that's the question. That's the question.
That song stinks.
Ben, are you gonna give us some live updates here? I see you're typing away. I need some validation. I need to know what's going on. Because we've got the big guns this year. If the Academy cannot take these original songs and make a cool like show with them, then all hope is lost. Yeah. If they're not nominated, then I guess we're already fucked. But if they are nominated, then we deserve a really, really good show. Did they get nommed? Or shortlisted, I guess. Shortlisted.
I couldn't find the short list exactly, but I mean, Lift Me Up, the Rihanna's like gotta be one of the front runners. Like I'll be amazed if that thing doesn't happen. So yeah. But I mean, a lot of good stuff out there. But Rihanna, that release I think got everyone ready for this movie.
Yeah.
And just the way it hits in the movie is it just you're at your lowest, so you're low, and now we get to listen to Riri just take us away.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We're gonna end every single episode of the pod asking your favorite blank winner when it comes to the Oscars. It's gonna change every week based on how we're feeling, based on what we're attached to, what category we want to see happen for a certain movie. This, we're gonna go in the Best Supporting Actor category. We all think Ke Kwan is a lock for this. He did win the Gotham Award. He's campaigning very well. He is perfect. I could argue that he might have some challenges when it comes to Brendan Gleeson. If Banshees wants to campaign in that way, we will see. But I think he's a lock, and I think he has it. So I want to know, who is your favorite Best Supporting Actor winner to have ever won in the history of the Oscars? Could be for any reason whatsoever. Personal attachment. You thought it was long overdue. You think it's ridiculous. Whatever you want. Liam, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, I can't say Heath Ledger because I watched The Dark Knight for the first time in like 2010 or 2011 after it had won awards and been nominated, and everyone had said, "Oh, it's so great," and it did live up to that hype. But retrospectively, it's really cool that Heath Ledger, an actor playing a comic book role, was not only nominated but won. That was really cool. But my favorites from ceremonies of past is Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because I loved him in that role of Cliff Booth. I think that is one of the most impressionable original roles in recent memory. And that movie is such a sneaky, fun time from Quentin Tarantino. It really is just Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And Brad Pitt says it in his speech. Once upon a time in Hollywood, ain't that the truth? And he walks off stage with just the most awesome swagger and the best hair in the business. And I'm just like, damn, that's a movie star. And yeah, that's a fond memory for sure. Because again, that happened during the year when I was most invested in the Oscars. So it was cool to see a role that I really enjoyed actually get a win at the end of the day.
I love that. Matt, what do you got?
With Brad Pitt, it's the way he adjusts his pants right before he fights Bruce Lee. Just kind of getting tucked in a little bit right there. I love that movie. I can and will say Heath Ledger for the Joker. I was in 8th grade when that movie came out. So that's the peak. You think you know more about movies than anybody else in the world. I've seen The Departed. Okay. I know what cinema acting looks like. But truly watching that movie, obviously there's so many things that go into making that movie as good as it is. But I think Heath Ledger's performance just, it in the same way Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man, it changed the genre forever. But this one on an acclaimed level. And it was just such an awesome time. And I always laugh when I remember that he beat Robert Downey Jr. for Tropic Thunder. The dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. Yeah, so Heath Ledger's definitely my all-time favorite. But to do a throwback, to go a way back kind of way, Robin Williams, Dr. Sean McGuire, Good Will Hunting. Yeah. It's truly one of my favorite stories in all of Hollywood. That movie, how it was written, how it came to be, how they got Robin Williams, and then him winning that award. Every time they cut to Matt and Ben watching Robin accept that speech, they are just giggling. And it's so funny to watch two of the most important actors of their time, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, just be so excited for Robin Williams to get that award for their movie. And it's Robin Williams. I mean, he's one of the most special souls to ever exist on screen in so many different ways. For that movie, for him to bring it down and make me cry. I've seen that movie 20 times. Every single time he makes me cry, along with Ludwig, along with Damon, along with Affleck. It's just it's a great movie, and Robin Williams is the heart of it. So just want to shout out old Bob Dub. You know what I mean?
Yep. That one's I mean, those two were honestly my first two, as someone who was around for the Joker is the guy from A Knight's Tale discourse. Very happy to be.
See, I was 10 Things I Hate About You. I I Love You Baby on the bleachers.
I mean, I love that too, man. That's one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. But just to know that this is the guy who's going to take over Jack Nicholson, it's Nolan's fucking lost it, man. I don't know what he's thinking. And then just see the movie. It's he totally deserved that 100%. Crazy to take such an iconic character from someone and kind of make it your own. So, and yeah, Robin Williams was up there as well. As far as I don't know, kind of see along the lines of this with Stephanie Sue, as far as a first time feature film. My pick is going to be Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. I know he'd been acting full time internationally, but his first real big American release. I mean, dude, again, we're talking a lot about Brad Pitt here, and I am not mad about it at all, but he's my favorite actor ever, and Tarantino, for a time was. And so when I saw the two of them teaming up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be the perfect movie. My opinion, it's still Tarantino's best movie. But Waltz to come on the screen and just kind of own that movie is insane. The opening scene, the milk, all that kind of stuff. yeah, he totally deserved that. So that's who I'll go with, just to pick someone different.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's interesting that we all had Heath Ledger on our list. Obviously, iconic and culturally relevant for lots of reasons, but I think it's warranted because the Dark Knight year is pivotal when it comes to the Academy, when it comes to the Oscars. That's what caused the 10 Best Picture nomination to move forward, right? That's what elevated it from 6 to 10.
Fuck you, Slumdog Millionaire. I'll never forgive you.
That's what changed things into an optional 10, and then essentially still an optional 10, but more likely than not, a mandatory 10 generally. So Dark Knight, lots of cultural relevance. I have a couple of honorable mentions. I wanted to put Tommy Lee Jones on here for The Fugitive in 1993. That movie fucking rips, and I did not know he won an Oscar. And so now thinking back, I'm like, yeah, he was insane in that movie. He was really good. That's a great movie. Heath Ledger, I said. J.K. Simmons, I think, is worth noting on here for winning for Whiplash. Speaking of Babylon and Damien Chazelle, absolutely unhinged role that is just bone-chilling and talk about dominating a scene. He owns that film. That is, unfortunately, Miles Teller is just a whimpering dog the entire time when it comes to J.K. Simmons. But I wanted to pick Joe Pesci for Goodfellas in 1990. Pesci has been nominated for 3 Best Supporting roles. Every single one has been with Scorsese. It's been Raging Bull, Goodfellas, and The Irishman. And he won for Goodfellas. And that movie is iconic, right? So I love that for Joe Pesci, and it is the holiday season, and he's in Home Alone, which is just unreal to me.
You guys talked about Brad Pitt's acceptance speech. Like, Joe Pesci's is pretty iconic too, because I think he just walked up and just said thank you and left. Like, it's so good. I loved it.
It has been my honor.
Yeah. So good.
God, Pesci the GOAT, man. Pesci the GOAT. Incredible conversation, guys. This has been exciting. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to add on Everything Everywhere All at Once, the Academy, the Oscars, the 2023 movie season, the 2022 movie season? You got anything you want to toss out there?
Sure. Go see movies. Go to the theater. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like, I've been going to the theater more often in my life the past couple of months, and it never gets old. There's something magical about that theatrical experience. So if there's something on your radar, especially if there's re-releases come Oscar season, if you didn't get to see Top Gun in theaters, go see it. If you didn't get to go see Avatar yet, go see it. Go to the theaters. Keep this business alive. It's really important.
The only thing I have to say about Everything Everywhere All at Once is, as much as the hot dog finger joke made me uncomfortable, when they cut to Jamie Lee Curtis play the piano and the wrist guard was on her ankle now. Oh, did I laugh? That is so funny.
It got you.
Dude, it got me big. That was very funny. So yeah, that's all I got. That's my final thought of the movie. Excellent ankle brace.
It's a good final thought. Ben, you got anything before we wrap?
I mean, I don't know what else to add to this, but yeah, go see movies and put your feet on people's faces. I'll just reinforce that.
Yeah. Go see movies in movie theaters. Last night I had to explain the somehow heartbreak feels good in a place like this to my wife. She didn't know what that was. We watched the AMC ad. I almost bought a sweatshirt. It was great. It was a really good time. And I feel like I changed a life in that moment. I feel like something opened in her soul where she was like, movies in a theater. That's amazing. And I was like, yes, we fucking did it. So yeah, go see movies in movie theaters. I believe, Ben, you might have to confirm, but pretty much every year at AMC or Cinemark puts out these are the Best Picture nominations. Come back and see them in a theater, and you can buy a ticket, right? That happened last year. Am I correct?
Yeah, where I live, I mean, our main thing is Cinemark here, and they do that every year where they'll even do a full run of all the shorts, the animated and the live action, and then they'll rerun all 10 of the movies. I think it's over a couple weeks. So if you get the chance, do it.
Yeah, be prepared for that. That might be a good chance to go to a theater and go see movies. Matt, thanks for being on the pod, dude. If more people want more of you, where can they find your stuff at?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great time chatting about this movie with everybody here. If you would like to read more of my idiotic thoughts, follow me on Twitter at Matt Roembke, ROEMB as in boy KE. I'm also writing those thoughts down at thedirect.com and talking about them into a microphone with the Direct podcast, everything you need to know about the universes you love. Right now, we have the direct awards out right now, recapping the year that was 2022. And then the first week of January, we will be doing our 2023 hype draft.
Nice.
My favorite segment we do on the show. And that will officially launch season 2 of the direct podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure to go check it out. And again, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah.
Liam, also, it's good to see you, my guy.
Yeah, Liam, thanks for coming on the pod too. Thanks for making the time, man. I know you're busy. Where can people find you at?
Yeah, I'm on all socials at Liam T. Crowley, and that's where you can find a bulk of my work. I'm always sharing my stuff. When is this going live?
This will be out on January 9th?
First Friday in January.
First Friday in January.
So far away.
So far away.
Isn't that next Friday?
Is it?
Yeah, it is next Friday, but it is so far away.
Okay.
It is January 6th. This pod will be out on January 6th of 2023.
Gotcha. So when this drops, I have a couple like really big interviews, at least for me personally, that will go live. So you will see them then. And they'll be all over my socials and all that. So please check them out because I had a great time doing them. And I really hope a lot of people enjoy them.
Cool.
On comicbook.com. That's the basis of where you can find those. And
got a website.
Love it. Well, yeah, go give those guys a follow. Obviously, if you're listening to us, you know where to find us. We're everywhere at 24 Minutes of 824. We'd love to hear what you guys think about both this movie and its potential Oscar run. Also, if you want to see all 4 of our beautiful faces, we are on YouTube now.
Yeah. And my hot dog fingers that I showed.
Yeah. You can just put us on mute and just look at us. I would totally understand that. But yeah, go subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I am Ethan Simi. And as the legendary and immortal Tom Cruise says, see you at the movies.